up, guys? I'm Lizzie. I've got 5 things that might help you improve your bareback seat. Now, apparently there's a lot of controversy over whether riding bareback is harmful for the horse or not. So, as somebody who has a lot of experience riding bareback and has done a lot of research on the case, I thought I'd go over some tips and tricks on how to improve your bareback seat and how to avoid long-term pain for both you and the horse. So, number 1, find your horse's center of balance, because being in their center of balance is going to make your balance a lot better. The horse's center of balance is straight up from their sternum. If we look at Stella here, you can see that right behind her elbow is the highest point in her chest, and that is their sternum. You want to go straight up from their sternum, and that line will usually bring you right behind their withers, which is the horse's center of balance. So sitting right in that line is going to be where you can be the most balanced. If you sit too far back, for one, this is very uncomfortable for the horse and it's going to throw off their balance, but you are going to have very poor balance here too. And if you are too far forward, I don't really know if anybody does this because it's very uncomfortable, but again, pain and lack of balance. So you want to keep yourself in line with their center of balance. Imagine a line from the ground through their center of balance and up. You want to be very much in line with that line, which also means you don't want to be leaning back and you don't want to be leaning forward. I see a lot of people when they're riding bareback, they like to lean forward so that they can hold on to the neck. This is going to make your legs clench their belly. It's going to make you very out of balance, and it's going to make the horse feel very uncomfortable and kind of uneasy. And if you're leaning too far back, which I see a lot of people doing too, because it helps with absorbing the impact of the trot or the canter or whatever. And this is something I used to do too, because I had a horse that was very uncomfortable to ride bareback. But this also is not great for your balance. This is putting your legs out way in front of you, and you're obviously out of line with the horse's center of balance. So both of you are going to be a little less comfortable, a little less balanced, and it's not going to be as pretty, and you're also going to create more pain in your back and possibly the horse's back. So you want to sit pretty much straight, but unlike sitting in a saddle, you can't always sit perfectly erect on a horse, especially if they have a really high withers. So what you can do, instead of leaning backwards, you just let your hips and pelvic kind of tuck down. So you're just slouching. And this is going to allow you to have a more pliable seat and to be able to absorb the trot impact and canter. So this is one of the things that can create long-term back pain, which is why you don't want to overdo bareback riding. But sitting up more erect is also going to be very uncomfortable and could cause long-term pain as well. But sitting more erect is going to be less comfortable in the present, and it's going to make you less balanced if you're more uncomfortable. You're going to be bracing yourself more with your hands and leaning too far forward to try to make things more comfortable. But a reason that a lot of people like to lean forward to balance themselves is so that they can hold on to the mane. And obviously, if you're a beginner or if you're feeling uncomfortable or out of balance, holding onto the mane can make you feel more secure and less likely to fall off, but you don't want to lean forward to hold onto the mane. What you can do instead that'll help a lot more and keep you in balance is just place your hands on their shoulders / wither area to just brace yourself. So you're not going to fall forward, and you can also hold on to a chunk of their mane so you don't feel like you're gonna fall backwards or side to side or whatever. Having your hands on their wither area like this can be a little bit calming for the horse. So if you're up here holding onto their neck, falling over on their neck, being unbalanced, it's gonna make them a little bit more stressed out, but having your hands down here is a little bit more relaxing for them. So it's a win-win. Number 2, we're gonna go over the legs now and how to use your legs properly so that they can help you instead of hinder you. So obviously, when you don't have a saddle to cling to, the only thing keeping you on your horse is your thighs. And you don't want to even use your entire leg, you just want to use your thighs down to your knee. These are what's going to keep you on your horse. And here's why you don't want to use anything below the knee to keep you on your horse. Our calves, our ankles, our heels, they are all used as cues for the horse. Whether you're squeezing or you're bumping or you're pushing, whatever, you use that part of your leg as cues. So if you are riding your horse bareback and you're squeezing all the way down to your heels, you're giving your horse a lot of mixed signals, but usually when you are first learning how to ride bareback and the horse starts moving unpredictably, your first reaction is to squeeze all the way down to your heels to keep you on the horse. So you're like clenching your legs all the way around the horse. But that is a cue for the horse to move faster. So we're confusing them with mixed signals. So we want to really keep our calves and our ankles and our heels off of the horse as much as possible when we don't want them to be responding off of our leg. So we want to really just be relying on our thighs to hold us, to clamp us onto the horse so that we're not confusing them or bumping them with our heels to make them accidentally go faster, basically. We also don't want our legs to be coming up and clamping up here. We don't want our legs to be going out here when we're riding. We want them to stay very steady, just like you would keep them if you're in a saddle. Number 3, now we're gonna talk about our hips and our core strength. What you really want is to be really steady and stable on the horse's back. Once you start bouncing while your horse is trotting or cantering, it's really hard to get your seat back. So it's really important that we really try to stick to the horse and not bounce. Also, it's very painful on their back when you bounce, and it's also painful for us when we bounce. So the goal is to not bounce. So that's where the hips and the pelvic and the core muscle comes into play. So the goal is to just have really loose hips and a really strong core muscle, because you want your upper body to stay stable and still, and you want your hips and pelvic to just rock with the horse. If you think of their trot as a rocking motion like this instead of up and down like this, it's way easier to find the rhythm in the trot than it is to just try to stick to them as they're bouncing. And like I said earlier, it's helpful to tilt your pelvic in a little bit. This is obviously a no-no when you're riding in a saddle, but again, when you're riding bareback, it's about comfort and the ability to stick to your horse. So if you tilt your pelvic in a little bit, it's just gonna really help you keep your hips loose and to be able to rock with the horse without bouncing or leaving their back. You really don't want your seat bones colliding with your horse's spine or the nerves that run along their spine. We also don't want our tailbone colliding with their spine. So if we have a really good clamp on our legs, we don't want excessive squeezing because our legs will get really tired really quickly. But if we have a good solid grip with our thighs and have a really nice loose hip motion, it's going to make sitting the trot a lot easier. Number 4, so we're gonna go over why riding bareback might be bad for your horse and how to avoid pain for both you and the horse. I've been seeing recently that there's more and more people saying that riding bareback is bad for your horse. And I think the truth is that it's true, because riding bareback for a long periods of time can definitely be harmful for both you and the horse. And the reason it's painful for your horse is because all of your weight is being located in 2 small areas, which are your seat bones. And when you are trotting or doing anything faster than a walk, you're going to be bouncing a little bit on their back, right along their spine, where they have very sensitive, important nerves that run along their spine. And it can be very painful for the horse if you are pinching those or landing on those or even landing on the spine. It's even uncomfortable for them to just have your weight located in a very small area. There's obviously a reason that they invented saddles, and that's because it takes your weight and distributes it more evenly across the horse's back where they can best support you in their support area. So it's taking all of your weight and spreading it out instead of having it located in a small spot. So the saddle is not invented to keep you on the horse. It's invented purely for comfort for both the horse and yourself. And the reason it can be bad for you is because, well, it's very uncomfortable to be riding on your crotch, and it's also very painful on your tailbone after a while. And I have experience with this. I used to own a Tennessee Walker that had a very high wither, and I always rode bareback. And when I first got her for like the first year, she refused to canter. So we would always trot everywhere. So I very quickly got used to riding a trot bareback with her very high withers, which was very uncomfortable. But we rode long miles every day, up and down hills and ravines and going through water and playing over jumps and around barrels and stuff. So I was very comfortable riding bareback, but I think now I'm definitely feeling it in my tailbone, and my tailbone likes to remind me quite frequently that it's not great to put a lot of miles on while riding bareback. I definitely get a lot of tailbone pain, and I associate it with riding bareback too much. But I do think that having a really solid bareback seat really helped me and helped me improve quickly once I started riding in a saddle. And I wasn't relying on the saddle to keep me on, I was relying on my seat to keep me on. So I could immediately work on my posture and my riding abilities and not have to worry so much about my seat. So I definitely recommend that you practice riding bareback a lot, just in short spurts. Don't overdo it. I wouldn't recommend going long distance bareback. It's not super healthy for either the horse or yourself. So it's really important that if you're going to learn how to ride bareback, you do it properly so you're not inflicting pain on your horse. If you are sitting too erect on your horse, your tailbone is going to collide with the horse's spine. So like I was talking about earlier, tucking in your pelvic is going to help you avoid that collision because you're going to come in at an angle instead of straight down on their spine. And also learning how to stick to the horse and not bounce a lot is going to help them so that you're not bouncing all of your weight on your seat bones on top of their fragile and sensitive bones and nerves and muscles. I also want to mention that using a bareback pad is not going to fix this issue either, because there is no support in the bareback pad like there is in the saddle. So it might make it feel a little bit more comfortable at first, but you're still creating the same issues. I also don't really like bareback pads because they're just another reason that you could slip off your horse, because there's not a lot of grip on them and they are likely to slip, which hinders your ability to stay on, obviously. Treeless saddles are also very similar to bareback pads, where they are not distributing your weight evenly on the horse's support area, so they are more or less like just riding in a bareback pad. So either you get yourself a well-fitted saddle or you learn how to ride bareback occasionally without overdoing it. And finally, number 5. And for our last and final one, I think this one is the most important, and that's just do a lot of nothing on your horse. To improve your bareback seat, just sit on your horse and do nothing. Let them do whatever they want. Obviously, if they're already broke to ride. But sitting on your horse and letting them just graze and wander or take a nap, it's the best way to get comfortable with riding bareback. If you try to get ahead of yourself and start trotting when you're not comfortable riding bareback, and you have to steer the horse and you're messing yourself up with the reins and you're throwing yourself off because you have to maneuver the reins and you're not able to hold on, it can get really messy and frustrating and dangerous, because you're going to lose your balance and probably end up on the ground. So really the best way to learn bareback is to just be with your horse. This is going to really help you learn your horse and be able to predict their movements and be able to stay centered on top of them while they move side to side, maybe spook a little bit here or there. You just are ready, and you're more communicative with your horse because you're way more aware of what they might be doing. You can feel their body language a lot more. So it's really good for your relationship with your horse and for your communication and your bond. So that's another reason why riding bareback is good. But just allowing your horse to graze, and you sit there and you just hold on to their mane a little bit and just relax. And you're gonna feel them moving side to side. You're gonna get comfortable with bracing your leg when they move this way or that way. You are going to build up muscle memory on how to maneuver with your horse and become one. So if your horse is turning this way, you're not falling off this way. You're staying straight on top of them while they're moving this way or that way. You're not falling a little behind or, being a little bit late with your movements with them, because you're getting used to, okay, we're moving this way, we tighten up this muscle kind of thing. So we're more balanced, we're more centered, we're more prepared. So just do a lot of nothing on your horse. Let them lead for a while you figure out your seat, so you're not confusing yourself while you're trying to maneuver with the reins, especially if you're a beginner, figuring out the reins and stuff and how to hold them properly. And it takes a lot of practice to get used to it and be comfortable with it. So you want to be able to just sit on your horse and let them do them while you figure out your seat. Once you have a comfortable, solid seat, you're going to be a much more confident rider. A lot of times when we're riding, our fear comes from the fear of falling off, or the fear of the inability to stay on. Again, fear of falling off, I guess. So if we are confident in our seat and we know we're not gonna fall off because we have a really well-practiced seat that's just become muscle memory, we're gonna be a lot more confident and aware of our horse. We're gonna know that we have the ability to stay on. So it's just one of the things to cross off the list that you don't have to worry about. So we can really just focus on what we're doing with our hands and our legs and not so much our seat. So I think that's it. If you guys have any questions, let me know down in the comments. If you like this video, give it a big like. You can also subscribe. I post new videos every single Sunday. You can also go follow me on Instagram and TikTok. And I'll see you guys next week Sunday. Bye! Okay, there you go.